Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill, Season 2.
Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill. I'm probably just going to call it Campfire Cooking because, we all know what we're talking about. All these long title things. We all know what I'm talking about. So I'll probably just abbreviate it for the YouTube title. But either way, welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu, that's Age, and we're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And well, this is Season 2, Episode 1 of Campfire Cooking. We are starting on Season 2 because just like a lot of the other shows that we've done, sometimes we just kind of watch something in our own time. This was one of those things. I, on a whim, saw this on Crunchyroll, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch that tonight. You know what I mean? It was one of those days where I just was waiting on, I think I was waiting on, I had to stay up late, and I was waiting on something, and Age wasn't around, and I was like, I don't feel like doing anything else. I just kind of want to watch something. So I was like, well, I might as well just start watching random things and see if they'd be good for the channel, if we'd be interested in it, whatever. I was like, this is relatively new. I'll check it out. Ended up really enjoying it, watched the season and caught Age back up on it last week so we could do this. When I saw that this was going to be part of the fall season here. It's really neat slice of life series that, it's kind of like Dragon Maid kind of in that realm. It has some, magic and some combat and stuff like that, but it's still very slice of life with Makoto going around, cooking for his two familiars, stuff like that. Fell being the legendary Fenrir, that kind of thing, arguably one of the strongest beings in their world, period. You know what I mean? Like a Veldora kind of situation from Slime, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Then the advent of him picking up Sui the Slime, that's always an interesting, was an interesting thing for him. We talked a little bit about it on our own time. Like, he'll probably collect a couple more familiars as the series goes on, that kind of thing. No source material knowledge for this one at all, so we don't know where this is at. We might have to look that up, for the source material, just to kind of get an idea of where they're at. But this was a fairly quick turnaround. I believe this came out at the end of 23 and wrapped up February, March of 24. So about a year and a half, that kind of thing. So it had a fairly quick turnaround. So it must have been reasonably popular. And, I think it's a fun, interesting show for what it is. I enjoyed it. That's why we wanted to do it for the channel. We needed a show like this for Friday. We had My Dress Up Darling, those kind of, Tomo-chan, Kaguya-sama, those kind of shows that we have for our Friday show that we made the Friday be the lighthearted slice of life jokey show. You know what I mean? And this was perfect for that. So, either way, I think it's a fun show for what it is. The characters, all the stuff they've established in season 1 was pretty interesting. Obviously, Makoto is probably going to pick up a couple more familiars, like we talked about. They kind of give it away with the episode title of this one. So, you know what I mean? My New Friend is Absurd is the name of this episode. So, come on. You know what I mean? It's right there in the title. What the hell am I supposed to do about it?
Either we're getting a new familiar, or it's talking about the frickin' Dragon Butcher guy.
Right. So the last thing we got left on was All Might, same VA for, English anyway, sent the guildmaster of the town that he was in, went and grabbed that Earth Dragon, and they couldn't process it. So they're like, well, what about the guildmaster over here? With all the crazy stuff that, Makoto pulls off in season 1, if you just kind of take a step back and go, he did a lot of crap in 12 episodes.
Yeah.
While just doing all the cooking stuff and all the lighthearted stuff, they got a lot of stuff done. Guild receptionist. I'm going to keep saying that till the end of the year when we do our big end of the year wrap-up thing. But they did a lot of cool stuff. You know what I mean? And we got the advent of the goddesses and stuff like that, blessings, all those kinds of things. But Age was talking a little bit about this on our own time. We both assume at some point we'll get back to the politics from the country that summoned him and the other heroes that they only alluded to one more time in one of the second course, juju strolls, little puppet theater things that a lot of shows have been doing, as their after show thing, just kind of fill a little bit more time. We saw the heroes there, and they were wondering, I wonder what happened to the salary guy with the online grocery as his thing. And they weren't being assholes about it. They were just genuinely man, I hope he didn't go get himself killed or something. So it wasn't the atypical, guy has useless power. The people that have the generic, hyper protagonist, isekai protagonist power, like make fun of him all the time. They were just like, hey, I wonder whatever happened with that guy. You know what I mean? And that was all we really got. But I assume at some point we'll get something on them and what the deal was with the politics of that, especially since, not unlike Ark from Skeleton Knight, Makoto and his familiars are becoming very well known, because in this world they have mail that teleports. So no matter this world is huge, because we were just talking about it before, was they showed off the map, and while there's not a huge amount of countries, like 10, something like that, at least on the map. Remember when they left and picked up Sui during the thing, and they were going through like Griffin territory? That took 6 weeks on Fel. So even if Fel wasn't going like super hyper Fel speed and was just kind of like, cruising, that's still a massive distance. You know what I mean? So they've gone very far. So yeah, there's a lot of like interesting things to think about for this series with all the lighthearted stuff and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see how many familiars Makoto ends up with by the end of this. If the gods get any more ridiculous, will we get like the super god of creation, like the Supreme Kai? Because the 4 goddesses of the elements did mention like the god of creation was like pissed with them and only wants like to give out like a major blessing like once every 100 years. And Makoto has 4. Well, he has 3, and Sui has has Ruka's blessing, the water goddess. So he technically has 4 because Sui is a contracted familiar.
Well, he technically has 5 because Fel also has the wind god. Fel has the wind god's major blessing. Sui has the water god's major blessing, and then he has minor blessings from wind, fire, and earth. Yeah.
So, yeah, crazy stuff for a lighthearted show, but it's I think it's a good show for this slot. I had fun with last season. Everything about it's just a fun, good time, and it's Mappa. Again, I still think they did the first season. I can't imagine they're not doing the second one. And
yeah, it's still Mappa.
Yeah, and it's still Mappa. So outside of Jujutsu Kaisen last year. But we all know what happened with that. So we'll have a lot to talk about with One Punch Man is another one of the shows we're doing this season, along with continuing Gachi Akuta for people who are new to the channel. We're also doing My Hero Academia, the final season, Spy Family, and One Punch Man, which has a lot of controversy going on right now. And we'll probably save the financial and just, you can't always blame the animation team and the director for stuff that fails. You know what I mean? If you're not given enough time, money, whatever. Once again, just because One Punch Man hasn't been around for 6 years, that doesn't mean they've been working on it for 6 years. And that's a big thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand. It's like, well, they've had 6 years. I highly doubt they've been working on it for more than 2. You know what I mean? Even more than 1. So that's always something to take into account, because One Punch Man has been bouncing all over the place from studio to studio, and it's a thing that we'll have to discuss for that. But for this, I'm looking forward to a lighthearted good time with all the stuff that's going on with this series. There's a lot of intrigue, political and otherwise. Makoto, what's he going to cook this week? What kind of buff food are they going to come out with? What kind of crazy monster are they going to deal with? But for now, it's the Earth Dragon. That's the big deal right now. So
on the One Punch Man note, I will say it's actually even worse than I thought it was, because originally a bunch of people were complaining about the fact that it got passed off to another new studio. Season 1 was done by Mappa. Season 2 was done by JC Staff, which are the same guys who did like Konosuba and Danmachi and stuff like that. Then it was passed on to a third studio who started working on it. Then apparently what happened was it got passed back to JC Staff, and then they had to start working on it on short notice.
That's even worse. So we'll look into it more, because we won't be recording that one today. So we'll have more information if you guys are interested in One Punch Man stuff. But either way, I'm excited for this one. This should be a good, solid, fun time again. So we're going to go ahead, push some buttons, see what's up with this. So people on Patreon, if you're on Patreon for the timer reaction, the other side of this edit, you will see the timer reaction over on Patreon, and if you're on YouTube, you will on the other side of the edit, you will see the discussion and review. If you want to see the timer reaction, it's going to be down there in the description, and just go to my Patreon. It's there for everybody to see. I'm not paywalling anything, so that's there if you want to see the timer-based reaction based on everything that happened with my previous channel and trying to avoid copyright. I'd go into it a little bit more, but I've already rambled enough for right now. I can explain that another time, where you can see the beginning of our MHA thing for the explanation, or the first freaking video of this channel. So we're going to push some buttons and get going here. I also got to eat dinner because of power outage and madness. So in solidarity with Makota's cooking, I'm going to eat my own pork chop sandwich thing that I put here. So anyway, here goes some. Well, alrighty then. There you have it. There was no speculation, nothing. It was in the episode title. Dora-chan is kind of absurd. Yeah. You know, another mythical being, you know, not as old as Fel, because Fel was, what, like 1,200 years old or something when we looked at the appraisal last season? Bare minimum, over 1,000. I don't remember if it was several thousand, but it was at least 1,100, something like that.
Yeah, his level, I mean, like his age was somewhere over 1,000, and his level was like 990 something.
Yeah, he almost had the classic, you know, maxed out stat line, which we did find out you can go past 9,999 in this universe with buff food, because
at least with temporary buffs.
Yeah,
because
with temporary buffs.
Because he got like 5,000 something strength and stuff like that from the Wagyu beef.
Yeah, so we could probably assume that 9,999 is a base cap, but then if you have temporary buffs like Makota's food or whatever, it's that. But so now we got a pixie dragon. Definitely a dragon. Definitely a big deal. In case anybody forgot, the whole like echoing effect is them being able to use telepathy between each other, and Dora probably doesn't speak like vocally, like audio. You know what I mean? He'll probably only speak via telepathy. So that was one of the things that they brought up in the first season, just a thing. So at least for now, he'll probably only be talking telepathically. But considering his age and like him being a mythical creature and that kind of thing, he probably won't be growing like Sui is. You know what I mean? Because whenever Sui does anything, just anything really, he levels up. So we'll just have to see what the deal is with him. But he's probably going to be more or less like Fel is. You know what I mean? Just already established power and not really going to be growing old that much. You know what I mean?
Oh, he was level 136, but yeah, Sui's thing is Sui gains experience like normal in levels, but as a slime, Sui also gains levels off of eating things.
Yep. So like when he cleans up the trash, he gets experience for that, as opposed to like say when he ate the healing shrooms and then was able to then produce healing stuff with just his magic power, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's just an innate. Well, so it's not specifically just to slimes. It's like slimes have a more powerful version of it, but it's like an innate thing that monsters in this world seem to be able to do, is if they eat large amounts of a specific thing, they can gain qualities from it, like the mithril lizard.
Yeah, like the mithril lizard, the metal slime Fel was talking about, that kind of thing. Some of the other creatures that they've run across, that kind of deal. So I assume there's going to be a lot of other crazy mythological beings in this, fantasy setting that we haven't got to. I mean, we got one of the classics, as much as I hate him, we got Spooters. And it was something that we didn't really talk too much about last season, obviously because we didn't do it for this channel, but just when Age and I were talking about it in general, was like a lot of Makota's other trading stuff is like him taking stuff out of the online grocery, and like the shampoo stuff that he had with that trader and his wife, that kind of thing. And we saw them in the intro, so it'll be interesting to see if they come back, because both of them were fairly big name English VAs.
Well, yeah, it seems like that town is going to basically be his like base of operations that he's going to be operating out of, because he already has, like free room and board from the king, and a big working relationship with a number of the people around there and stuff like that. He's just going off to this trip to go meet Elrond specifically to deal with the dragon.
Yep. So And because Fel wants to go to the ocean. We saw the Kraken and the whatever other mythological beast was out there.
It was a sea serpent of some sort.
Sea serpent of some sort. So, you know, he's got his third familiar immediately, no problem. We got some more of like a demi-human situation, like with the receptionist here, who is kind of like a dog girl, you know, that kind of thing. We didn't. I don't think we had a lot of demi-humans in season 1. Like,
not really.
Like if at all.
Basically, all we ran into were in the towns and stuff were humans. We didn't even have dwarves or anything like that.
Yeah, but in here, you know, we have the dog girl receptionist. The guildmaster here is a dwarf. Hell of a high-pitched voice for a dwarf, but it's a voice, so who cares? I'm just random thing. But dwarf characters are always interesting, that kind of deal. So, you know, a traditional whatever. But I will say here that Makoto pulling off the classic, we have this job that we were looking to do. Yeah, I already did that like 10 times more than you wanted. You mean this? Yeah, we already did that. That's like a classic. Yeah. Like you come across, you're doing like a bunch of grinding quests and pick your favorite MMO or RPG or whatever it is, and then you go to a town and it's just like, oh man, we really need like silk, or we really need this meat or whatever. It's just like, I have enough to get exalted right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to cook for the inn. I could really use 8 coyote steak.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have like an entire backpack full of it?
Yeah, it's just like, hold on. There's like 800 in here. Hold on.
But yeah, no, the quest was resolved before the guildmaster even knew about it, because frickin' not only was he about to have to go coordinate culling the spiders, but he also found out that the whole reason why they were upset and stuff like the guildmaster was worried about was just because of Dora.
Yep. So totally Dora's fault, and it was already taken care of. So no big deal. And they also have a surplus of silk and whatnot now. So there you have it. Either way, I am glad that I did get to make the shopping joke with Nami. That was one of her more famous things. Is in most of the arcs, but there's this one arc in One Piece. I haven't seen all of One Piece, but there's this clip where she literally gets like a mound of clothes. Like I'm talking about like twice the size of that pile of spiders that Makoto had there, with clothes that she buys, and then she doesn't wear them because One Piece characters only change their clothing as the arcs change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like at least Makoto did like, you know, use like the nightgown, like the sleeping attire that he bought. So that's cool.
It's one of those things where like it's a method of saving time and effort to not have to come up with new clothing designs and stuff like that, but that and helps like keep the characters identifiable.
Yeah,
because anime characters don't have very many defining features. It's primarily just their hair and their clothing.
Yep.
But it's something that's always like very noticeable when an anime or manga goes out of their way to actually do it. Like that's one of the big things for like Frieren. Frieren, they actually do change their outfits fairly frequently around based on the circumstance.
Yeah.
Like they have their like iconic looks that they kind of default back to, but they do still pretty frequently change their clothing around based on stuff that's going on.
Right. So it's cool that they actually used it. We went back to Makoto cooking stuff, you know. Spider, you know, absolutely can be cooked. It's very crab-like, that kind of thing. Especially bigger spiders are going to be crab-like, like the night spiders and slime, that kind of thing. So, you know, all that stuff, you know, tracks, that kind of thing. There's meat there. You know, it is what it is, even if I think it's gross. That's just me. But either way, went back to, you know, his traditional cooking stuff. He did gyoza. We got to, you know, a lot of people like that don't understand how gyoza is made. It's like, well, if you're doing this, why is it, you know, like more like burnt on the top or more like cooked? It's like because they flip it for the presentation.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like there's several different kinds of ways you can cook gyoza, but yeah, like fried gyoza like that is that, yeah, they just flip it. Friggin' I made the random friggin' Katagyo Hitman reference, but Ippon's gyoza, she always does steamed gyoza.
Right. So there are multiple different ways of
which is more like the round pouches.
Yeah, it's at its simplest thing, it's just filling some sort of wrapping, whether it's a tortilla or any kind of flour based something. You know what I mean? A taco shell, it can be pretty much anything. Bagel, whatever. It's more than likely rice or flour based wrapping, whatever it is. Corn, sometimes corn, you can do that. You know what I mean? But whatever you're wrapping it with, you stick it in there and then get that, and it turns out great. It doesn't have to be complicated. Why do you think the burrito is so successful? Because you can pretty much put every food group into a burrito or any kind of wrap like that and succeed and have everything you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gyoza at its core, it's just, there's a bunch of different ways to prepare it. It's just meat and veggies thrown into a noodle shell.
Yep. So, and sometimes you have a slime to help you out. Because once again, so we did a lot of the hamburg steak patties and stuff like that, and he helped with the the meat grinder thing when he went super ham in that one episode. They pumped out several 100 pounds of meat, no problem. There's probably a phrasing joke in there. But
I mean, Fel got really close to having a meaty explosion in his mouth.
Yeah, we had the hot dog joke with him in the first season, so I'm saying. But either way, new familiar acquired. Not happy with his name, but too bad. The name already went through, and once again, he did force the familiar contract on him, which, let's be real, all three of these familiars have forced the familiar contract onto Makoto.
Yeah, Sui, at least he unintentionally accepted it, but for Fel and Dora, they kind of forced it on him.
Yeah, for Sui, he was a baby slime, 2 weeks older, 3 days older, whatever he was, whatever they were. I don't know, slime genderless. So
slime don't typically have genders.
Yeah, so Sui, they were. It was like Fel says, it was something like it was the slime's fervent wish to be your familiar. So it's like, okay, it's like Sui forced it on the code. So it just was like, please let me be your familiar kind of deal. It kind of happened.
Yeah, slimes, generally speaking, are genderless, though in some fictions they can basically assume a gender. Or in the case of say the time I got reincarnated as a slime, even though Rimuru is a slime and technically genderless, he kind of has that back and forth about the fact that his original personality is male, and since he's capable of achieving of taking on human form, he picks the gender of his human form.
Right. So either way, again, another solid episode. We got the textile town. That was cool. Just another little addition to the world, that kind of thing. Different, the different races. Once again, we didn't really have demi-humans in the first season. I don't even know if they were really alluded to. It's just kind of a thing because...
Not really.
So that's cool that they exist. So that's just kind of another thing that there are things like dwarves in this world, demi-humans, like the dog girl, that kind of... maybe it's more of a different countries kind of situation.
That's what I was going to
something
say.
to do with the politics, that we talked about. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's probably more of a country thing based on which races are more accepted there. And it is worth noting that in particular, the further we get away from the corrupt king, now we're starting to run into them.
Yeah. So that's just kind of some underlying thing that you have to keep an eye on, that kind of thing. So while it might have been seen as unintentional, it might be actually intentional. Hey, we're getting farther and farther away from the gigantic tool. So
which we still don't really know his whole shtick. We just know that he summoned the heroes under the pretense of using them to fight the Demon King. But that basically all the neighboring countries know that he's definitely going to try to pull some sort of political shenanigans with them and not actually just use them like he's supposed to.
Yeah, even the random dudes at those bars were just yeah, we probably should get out of here. It's they know the guys. Yeah, what's his name's up to it again? We better freaking get out of here. You know what I mean? He's up to his nonsense. So it'll be interesting to see if we get into that at all. Obviously, the bathtub, that was a big deal in the first season. I'm glad they continued that just as like even just like as an aside. You know, it doesn't have to be the prime thing of like how the last episode was about giving Fel a bath and that kind of thing. Just doing this every once in a while. Like, he's still using the earth magic. He's still using the bathtub that he made. You don't have to make it a big like thing of the episode, but just it was an established thing. He's still using it. Great. And then they immediately had him, you know, use the night clothing that, you know what I mean? As opposed to just, oh, he bought clothes, but we're never going to see him. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's the little things.
Which once again, we have also already established that Makoto's natural affinities are fire and earth.
Yep. So
because
he hasn't used any wind magic yet.
Yeah, he hasn't used any magic besides fire and earth, and the gods themselves like specifically called out that he has like no talent for wind or water.
Yep. So he's got those covered, but once again, you could just feel it coming. He forgot about the offerings again. Goddesses are upset with him, but you know, that is what it is. It's like I said, he needs to get an alarm clock or something.
Yeah,
just like he's bought a lot of modern Japanese equipment. Maybe you could just get a watch or a PDA or something to remind him, like, hey, it's offering time again, and you know.
Yeah, we'd have to see. So far, his online grocery is generally limited to food and food-related things. Well, he has the soap and stuff like that, but in general, that's still generally considered
that's
to be
like
a
grocery store adjacent. You know what I mean? You're gonna find shampoo and soap in a grocery store, a lot more than likely.
Yeah, that's still grocery related, but yeah, something like a watch or electronics or stuff like that is probably outside of the scope of his skill.
Yep. So we'll just have to see, but the goddesses always seem to be getting left out, and as we saw here at the end in the little thing here at the end, you know, we've got she is pretty much just Aqua. The goddess of wind in rear is pretty much just Aqua.
She's less insufferable than Aqua.
Yeah,
she has a very similar personality.
Yeah. So either way, besides them, we got these two guys, which, based on what we speculated at the end of the reaction, the guy with the goggles here with the beard, probably the goddess of creation. We don't know if they're going to go like full like Supreme Kai, kind of like hierarchy kind of thing, like god of all creation, or are we just talking like the god of creation because he makes stuff like weapons and armor and stuff, you know what I mean? That kind of god of creation.
Yeah, he's definitely most definitely some sort of like a forge god or something like that, which may or may not be the god of creation because forge is a creative process. And then the other guy is probably either some death god or some hunting, some like god of the hunt.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Because of just his garb, he has tribal tattoos, that kind of thing. So it could be anything. You know what I mean? In the like ED here, you could see him in his little like standee thing. Like right here, it's like very Dionysus like, but most gods drink booze, so it's not just like a Dionysus god that's like a wine god or something, or whatever.
Alcohol in general has always been kind of associated with the divine and offerings and stuff like that, and then Japanese culture in particular, it's sweets and alcohol are like the main two things that you offer to gods.
Because as you can see right here, Ruka is eating what looks to be melon bread. Even though she was the one that asked for like his meals as what she wanted the majority of. Agni wanted booze. The earth goddess wanted like the cosmetics, like the soap and the shampoo. And Ninrir, she's the one that mostly wanted the sweets and stuff. But they all wanted pretty much all of it for the most part. They all wanted sweets.
Yeah, they all wanted offerings of sweets. It's just the others all had additional asks besides Ninrir, which for the water goddess, it was actual food offerings. For the fire goddess, it was booze. And for her, the earth goddess, it was like toiletries, like shampoo, hair conditioner, makeup, stuff like that.
Yep. So either way, solid start to the season. I don't really have any complaints. I didn't really have any complaints for this show. In the first season, it did everything that it should do. A show like this should do. It's fun. It's entertaining. It has, you know, solid pacing. The sound design's there. The music's good. So, you know, it's just fun and entertaining, and that's all you want out of a show like this. So, you know, moving on to adding a couple other characters. I'm sure the Elron will probably be that elfish guy that we saw in the OP, and he'll probably be the eccentric, you know, crazy scholarly guy. You know what I mean? So we're filling out the roster.
Yeah, he'll probably make at least some attempt to murder Dora.
Yeah, something like that. It'll probably be one of those things. But either way, solid start this season. Looking forward to this one. Oh yeah, you got anything else, Age?
Not really.
Alrighty then. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube beyond, have you're watching. As always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging out here in the dojo for more night in the dojo. This was Campfire Cooking, Season 2, Episode 1. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.